All right, so let's take some time to go through the syllabus for the course here. This will give you a good idea of, my sort of expectations as well as what you can expect in terms of assignments. In terms of like meeting dates and times, this course is going to be completely asynchronous, meaning self-paced. I'm going to post stuff on Canvas, you're going to do the assignments, etc., with the exception of exams. And I'll talk about that in a second. I did talk about it a little bit already in terms of the fact that they're already pre-scheduled, right? According to the schedule that we have, they will be Zoom proctored, etc. We'll get to that in a second, but that's actually the only synchronous portion of the course is exams. Everything else is going to be self-paced asynchronous, okay? Of course, welcome. You can read through this on your own. You're encouraged to make sure you have everything. I'm going to sort of skip through and just give you the highlights here. Most importantly, right, is me, Dr. Corsepius, and you can contact me through email from my Fresno City address there. I'm extremely responsive via email, right? I mean, I have it on my phone just like everybody else's. So I make myself very available. I try to make answer questions quickly, be very responsive, all that good stuff. So for any and all things, please feel free to reach out to me via email. And office hours, my office hours will be Wednesday from 11 to 3. But similar to what I'm saying about reaching out to me via email, if you can't meet during office hours and you have a question, just shoot me an email and we can arrange a time that we can meet together in order to get all those questions clarified, right? Or even if it's just like a Thursday or something, and so you don't want to wait the full week in order to get in contact with me. I've had some very successful students who just take advantage of the fact that I'm really willing to meet whenever. I mean, obviously, if I'm out doing something, I can't meet, but for the most part, I'm stuck here just like at home, just like everybody else, right? My goal is to have you be successful, to answer questions. I am going to be your best resource in this course if you do have questions. Obviously, there are other resources, your textbook, YouTube, all that good stuff. But really, if you have questions, you should come to me first and try to get me to help you out, okay? This phone number is required for the syllabus, but that's not going to do you any good because that's the office phone, my on-campus office, which of course I'm not at. All right, course description, the course objectives, the student learning objectives, make sure to take a look at those. That's basically our goal for this semester. That's what you're going to be learning. That's what the state has decided organic chemistry 2 students should know. And so this is what we're going to be covering. Honestly, all in good time, we'll hit that. So I wouldn't worry too much about it right now, but yes, this is what this is. This is what we're doing this semester. The textbook, same textbook as last semester. So those of you who had me last semester, you don't really have to do anything new. If you had me a full year ago, unfortunately, this is a different textbook. I like this one a lot. So I'm kind of bummed that students have to go and get a new textbook. But this is a really good textbook. And more importantly, especially because we're online, we're going to be following this textbook really closely. Okay, so it's going to be a really good companion resource to what we do online, on my lecture videos, on these practice discussions, quizzes, etc. that we have. Your book is going to be a really good resource to turn to if you're confused about something. Under the optional text tab is this ACS exam guide. I didn't know much about it, but I have to say that I had a lot of students who were incredibly successful on the ACS exam last semester, and they attribute a lot of their success to this guide. Obviously, it's not going to be the exact same question, but there were some questions that were pretty freaking similar to what, I had a student come to office hours and ask me about this question. And then lo and behold, something really similar was on the ACS exam. And that can give you a huge leg up. I mean, everybody knows how difficult this ACS exam is. So even if like 5 of the questions that are relatively tough look familiar, that could be a big boost. So actually, wasn't on my radar before, but highly recommend you guys get this official guide. The one caveat is you got to be using it throughout the semester. It's not something that you can crack the day before the exam and expect it to do you any good, right? But nonetheless, it does a good job of sort of illustrating the expectations that the ACS has compared to like the book content that we've learned. So highly recommend it. Attendance. So attendance is a bit of a formality now that we're online. I mean, basically the bottom line is you either interact with this course material on Canvas that I've posted or you don't. I will keep track of your attendance because it's something that I have to submit at the end of the semester based on your participation in these weekly question forums, okay? But yeah, I mean, you either participate and you learn the material and you take the exams and everything, or you don't. And that's, you know, yeah. I will be keeping track of attendance, but it's not quite the same impact as the in-person stuff, other than how it pertains to the drop policy, which is essentially if you've checked out for 2-3 weeks straight, you may, and I want to just highlight that word, may be dropped from the course. The bottom line is that we don't like students who aren't participating to be enrolled in our course. They just make us look bad as instructors. But we are weary to drop students willy-nilly without at least making contact with them because it could impact their financial aid. So I in particular am pretty weary to drop students even if they've dropped off the face of the earth, just because I would hate to have somebody's financial aid pulled out from under them. And so really, in my mind, it's your responsibility to drop the class, okay? If you no longer want to participate. But you may be dropped if you check out for 2-3 weeks within the first 9 weeks, which is the drop deadline. That gets me to these important dates. The drop deadlines, but I think most importantly is this one here, which is the last date that you can drop and receive a W on your transcript. If you are enrolled in my course after March 12th, you will be getting a grade. That's what that means. Okay, so yeah, basically in those first 9 weeks, you want to evaluate whether or not you're going to be successful. If you're kind of doomed to get an F at that point, it is beneficial to drop the course. But if you're enrolled after March 12th, doesn't matter, you're getting a grade. Holidays, unfortunately, don't really matter as much on online as they did before, right? I mean, before it was like a free day. Now, every week, new content's going to be posted. The exception being spring break is going to be just a free week. There's going to be nothing due, nothing assigned. We're all just going to check out for a week and then come back, okay? Participation and engagement. So hopefully the previous video gave you a sense of what participation in this online organic chemistry course will look like. It's a series of you watch lecture videos that I've posted and you interact with the assignments that are due that are alongside those, okay? And we'll talk a little bit about the specific assignments here in a second, but that's what participation will be. It's largely through Canvas. And then of course, if you have any questions, contacting me through Zoom. So I specifically went through the calendar. I don't want to go through this again. I will now go to the assignments because these are kind of the different assignments that you can expect. So first of all, every chapter there's going to be this question forum, okay? And this is a discussion forum where you are required to post or answer at least 2 questions that you have about that content. Not when is this due? That's not a content question. But I don't understand why bromine is added to the more highly substituted carbon in this addition reaction. Something like that, right? You know, this is sort of, it's no replacement for raising your hand in class. I mean, that's, email me for questions that you have that you're really, really stuck on. But I did actually find it to be quite beneficial last semester because people were posting really good questions, but then just as importantly, students were offering really good answers. And you could tell that it just sparred some critical thinking, which is really great. It's really hard to come by in this online format, this sort of peer-to-peer critical thinking. One of the things that I hope to instill in you throughout the semester is how much you guys can use each other to study off of. You ask this question, you answer this question, it's actually beneficial for both of you. You make up this practice problem, you answer this practice problem. I mean, this is like a really good way that you can interact with one another to generate new study material. You know, hopefully I hammered this home last semester, but like creating these questions is sometimes just as good of a study tool as answering these questions. So anyways, this is something that I found, although not as like beneficial as raising your hand in class, I did still think it was good at promoting you know, critical thinking and getting people to ask questions about stuff that they were a little fuzzy on. So Every chapter, there's going to be 5 points that are dedicated to post-lecture video quizzes, assignments, discussions. Basically, you're gonna watch a video, you're gonna take a quiz. You're gonna watch a video, you're gonna complete an assignment. You're gonna watch a video, you're gonna participate in a discussion. It's a really great thing that this online format offers, is the way for me to break up what would be a really long lecture in person into little chunks, and then forcing you to practice the material that was learned in that little chunk through a quiz or an assignment or something like that, okay? Each one of these isn't gonna be worth a ton of points, total of 5 points a week, right? So maybe it's like 0.7, 0.8 points. It's not a ton of points. It's really just to bribe you guys into doing those practice, because that's gonna be key to success in this class, is practice. Each week or each chapter at the end, there's going to be this weekly challenge problem, which is this really big pain in the butt problem that I've designed that like integrates multiple concepts or really forces you to exhaustively hammer home certain concepts. Yeah, so that's going to be each chapter. The way that this is designed is, sort of the benefit or whatever is that you're going to be broken into groups. And you're going to have the benefit of seeing how your other group members answered before you submit your final answer. It's not quite like group work in class where I break you up and then you sit there and talk to one another. Because it's an asynchronous course, I can't like force somebody to give you an immediate response to your comment or something like that, right? I mean, the time aspect of this is not something, there's no immediate response that I can like generate an assignment that's going to do that. Instead, the bottom line is that you're going to make your first attempt, and then you get to see what a few other people's attempts were. And so from that, you can sort of learn and gather what you did wrong before submitting your final attempt for grading, okay? There's actually a practice sort of problem that we're going to do in this group format this week. So if you click through, you will see one of those type of problems just to give you a taste. Online homework. So we're going to use Wiley Plus again. I know it's not everybody's favorite, but actually it is really good at giving you extra problems. It's not perfect, but we're going to take all the extra problems that we can get. If you have a Wiley Plus account from last semester, you should be good to go. Shouldn't have to do anything. Let me know if that isn't the case, because that's what I'm under the impression of. It actually still says in the course title 28A. But then if you look a little bit further, it's 28A, 28B material. So as far as I'm concerned, everybody that had it already, you're good to go. If you haven't, follow the instructions in the previous video to get a Wiley Plus account. Each chapter will have 10 homework points associated with it. There's going to be one assignment worth 5 points and another assignment worth 5 points. You will be graded on correctness of these problem sets. You can't just bomb it and expect to get full credit. But they are graded slightly more generously. You get multiple attempts, etc. And then there's also 2 extra credit points that are offered. So each chapter will have 10 points plus 2 extra credit points that you could potentially get. And those are really meant to be practice for what would be the high stakes exam, right? So 10-point homeworks, you get 2 of them per exam, and then that culminates in a 100-point exam. This is sort of the big deal game right here, where you get to show off what you've learned or didn't learn in the past few weeks, right? Yeah, I mean, just like last semester, or just, per what you would expect, multiple chapters are culminated into this exam. The big thing that's different for our online format is that they're going to be Zoom proctored exams, meaning I'm going to be sitting here on one side of the camera while you're taking the exam on the other side, which is why they are at designated meeting times. So one of your assignments this week is to look over the exam schedule and let me know if there are any conflicts so we can get that worked out immediately. I've had students who were parents, and so they needed to take it at night after their kid went to sleep, or they had a work schedule, so they needed to take it really early in the morning. I'm more than happy to accommodate your schedule, but that's not something that's going to happen 5 minutes before the exam is supposed to take place. That's something we're going to work out now. All right, so make sure to look through that schedule, make sure you're good to go, pencil them all in. Yeah, they're always going to be on Thursdays. They're going to be taking place from noon to 1:30. You'll actually have an hour and 20 minutes for the exam, but it usually takes a few minutes to get everything set up and ready to go. So that's that time block. And that all culminates in what I like to call the championship game of the semester, which is our ACS final. That's what we're working towards here. Why is the ACS final so important? Because it's a standardized exam given to chemistry students throughout the country. And it's how we evaluate how you as a student body has done relative to the country, as well as how me as a professor has done relative to the country. So it's high stakes for both of us. For you, it's worth 200 points. It's 2 exams. There is a curve on it, but nonetheless. And it's a tough exam. So it's something that you really want to have prepared for and be ready to go. And then for me, it's how they tell whether or not I've been a successful professor. So I really want you guys to do well as well. I love it when I get students that just crush it, right? Not only that, but if you plan on transferring into the CSU or UC system, there are several schools that will contact us and ask us for your ACS performance while they're evaluating your admissions. So yeah, it's just kind of important. Like I said, it is that championship game of the semester. It's what we're preparing for. If you follow along and you do all these assignments and you take these exams seriously, my job is to have prepared you for it, and I believe that we will. Okay, so just make sure that you're going along throughout the semester. Anybody that qualifies for DSPS, please let me know. Right, you should be in contact with them. Even if you aren't sure, but you think you may qualify, get in contact with them and they will be able to help you out. All right, grading scale, pretty typical. The one thing that I want to just emphasize real quick is that I will be rounding percentages to the nearest ones place when I calculate your final exam. That means that an 89.5 will round to an A and an 89.4 will not round to an A. Right? And there's going to be no funny number business that goes on at the end of the semester in my grade book. It's going to be written in stone, right? So once you get that final score, that is your grade. In terms of makeup exams, so as I said, if you can't meet during those exam times, let me know, I'll work with you. But let's say something really disastrous happens that prevents you from coming to an exam that you thought you were going to be able to make. If you have what's called a university accepted valid excuse, you will basically just be waived. There's no makeup exams given. So what happens is, if you get a car accident and you can't make it to an exam, something like that, the exam will be waived, meaning that those points don't count for or against you. Practically speaking, what that means in terms of your grade is that every other exam is weighted more heavily because you just don't have as many exams. But yeah, that's our makeup policy. Late work. An assignment, once an assignment is due, if you haven't turned it in, absolutely get on it and turn it in the next day, 2 days, whatever. I'm a pretty understanding guy. I think the official policy is 10% penalty for each late day. An 80 in my grade book is way better than a 0, right? So 2 days late is you absolutely should. If you miss a due date, you shouldn't just write it off and be like, well, I'm screwed. Absolutely make sure to turn that in late. Get in touch with me. The one hard, fast rule that I have is once a grade has been entered into my grade book, I'm not changing it, right? I always wait at least a week before I grade. If I've graded an assignment, you got a 0, you can't come to me and be like, oh, wait, I forgot to turn this in. Sorry. Like at that point, it's done, right? Once the grade is in my grade book, it's set in stone. If no grade has been entered, go ahead and submit it, and you'll at least get some points for it. Also super important, and this will tie into the next section too, is that no work is going to be assigned or accepted after the final exam. So you can't go and do a bunch of late assignments and turn them in after the final exam and get any credit for it. The final exam it's it, that's final, okay? And this is similar to this policy of extra credit. I'll assign extra credit randomly throughout the semester, but I think it's important to know the difference between like your perspective on extra credit and the instructor's perspective on extra credit. For you, extra credit's a way to boost your score. Great. For me, I'm not giving it to you to boost your score. I'm bribing you into practicing material that you need to practice more. So when I offer extra credit assignments, it's because I'm like, ooh, they really didn't quite understand this. I'm going to offer a few extra credit points in order to bribe them to practice it more. Because again, it's all about that championship game at the end, right? That's what I want you to be prepared for, is that ACS exam. And so likewise, no extra credit assignments will be given or accepted after the final exam, because at that point, I don't care. You didn't know it, right? Like, it doesn't really help. I understand it helps your grade, but it doesn't help your overall understanding in the course in terms of like how we evaluate that. Class norms, the one thing that I will say, I mean, the great thing about teaching organic chemistry too is that y'all are here because you've kind of already gotten the name of the game. The course is challenging, for sure. It's going to require a large amount of material that we cover. I mean, it's going to require a good attention span because we cover a large amount of material. You cannot check out for a week and then hope that everything goes well. Like, it's not going to work. You're going to fall behind. You're going to get buried. The best thing that you can do for yourself in this course is to be consistent and stay on top of the work. Academic dishonesty policy, I mean, read through this if you need to. The bottom line is, if there is any amount of cheating that's going to go on, you're just going to piss me off. And I'm going to come down with the full force of it because I got to do paperwork. I'm going to be irritated. You guys are adults. I don't want to have to deal with this. I mean, this is one of the nice things about teaching organic chemistry versus like chemistry 3A or something like that, is at this point, y'all should be adults. And if there is any funny business that goes on, I'm going to make it miserable for you, because I'm just going to be pissed off, okay? Lastly, the support services. So just by virtue of being a student at Fresno City, there are a ton of both physical and mental health resources that are available to you. This pandemic has been hard, right? So if you find yourself in a depressed state or not taking care of yourself, your hygiene slips, all those are kind of warning signs that your mental health is slipping. And you should absolutely take advantage of these free services, some counseling and stuff like that, because yeah, your mental health is really important, as well as your dietary health. We have this awesome program here on campus called the RAM Pantry, which, you know, if anybody's fallen into hard times or know somebody who has and they have some food insecurity, this is a great free way, because nobody should go hungry. I mean, that's just ridiculous. All right, lastly, final exams. So these are our scheduled exam times by virtue of just being in whatever section you're in. We'll cross this bridge when we get to it towards the end of the semester. I'm actually going to hold one final exam session with both of you, both sections, in order to just get everybody done at once. But if for whatever reason you couldn't make that, you have to be able to make it to one of these times, right? So this is just like if we were in person. Your final exam schedule is not up for debate. That is when you must be available. Hopefully we can get two sections combined into one, but if for whatever reason you couldn't, this is the time that you have, date and time that you have to be able to make, okay? Yeah, cool.